why do humans perceive things to be beautiful? Why do we look at a sunset, or we look at a mountain range, or we look at even something like a car and might say, that's beautiful? Where does beauty come from? I don't know. And that's why I'm making this video. I can understand beauty on some aspects, but like I was driving down the road, and I live in Orange County, and so driving down the road, and I can see the sunset on this amazing water, right? The Pacific Ocean's there, and it's just like the sun is shimmering off of the water, and it's just this beautiful thing. And I'm driving my car down this hill, and I have this amazing view. I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, what a beautiful day, right? That was the word that I used. And we use that all the time. When I really like looking at the mountain ranges and, certain, pieces of nature. And we use these terms, and I go, wait a second here. Why do I perceive that as beautiful? Because I can understand beauty on the aspect in regard to, like, for me, the opposite sex, right? Hey, that's procreation working, right? I see a beautiful woman, my body goes, okay, you got to do something. It can be exhausting at times as a guy, it never turns off. Like, I still feel like I'm 13 years old, but I'm like, it's there, and that I understand, right? That attraction and that me honoring that beauty, I understand that, because that's how we propagate the species. That's a genetic thing hardwired in us that comes out so that we can take action to help our genes move along in the future. So I get that side of beauty, but what utility is there in me perceiving an ocean as beautiful, or a mountain range, right? If I go back into the day, and I think about, and I see a mountain range, what if that mountain range is in the way of me getting to where I want to go, right? How do I look at that and see that as beautiful and as amazing scenery, when that might be an obstacle for me? Or like the ocean, like, shit, we thought there were, I don't know. So we can't even get across this ocean. We're stuck here, right? We're stuck on this island. So I don't know. I'm asking the question because I want to know. So if you know, definitely please comment and engage with me, or send me on the right direction to understand. But I was thinking, again, myself thinking, why would that be then? I go, maybe it's something that evolved to where we look at things and we have this perspective that makes us understand that there's something bigger than ourselves. Maybe the relationship of God's creation has evolved in us so that we can be less than, and so that we don't turn ourselves into God. Hey, I didn't create that ocean. I didn't create that mountain range. Something else above us did. And so it's like, oh, the beauty in creation, it keeps us level-headed and keeps us in check, so that we can work with others, and so that we can survive. So that when I see something beautiful and you see something beautiful, give you an example. I was in the Greek islands. One of the Greek islands is called Santorini, and I was there. And they're famous for their sunset. Even though there's sunsets all over the world, they're specifically famous for their sunset, and the way that it sets in that part of the world, with the island, the way that the island is shaped. And so you've got this cliff, and there's like restaurants and hotel rooms and things, and it's all along the shelf of this cliff here. And the way that we literally, people go, and everyone goes at that time, and they go and they're all faced that way, and they're all turning and watching the sunset. And it's like this, it looks crazy. It's like, it's different than any other sunset I've ever seen. So anyways, the sun setting, and the way that your angle of sight is the people at the bottom, they see the last of it first, and it goes away first for them. Whereas us, we were at the top, we will still see that little tiny glimmer right before them, or after them, right? So at the bottom, they see it. And what happens is, I'd never been there before, right? They start applauding. And the people at the bottom who they don't see the sunset, they start applauding first. And then it starts going up and 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 up. And then everyone's all of a sudden applauding. So we're out there, we're applauding God's creation. Whether you believe in God or not, we're applauding something bigger than ourselves. What I see from that is us coming together. We're coming together. So I wonder, is that evolution? Did we evolve to come together under God? I mean, we had gods of the sun and gods of the moon and gods of the ocean and God. We had all these different gods before. And maybe is that how it evolved? Is it an innate thing? And I thought about, like, do I see animals doing that? I don't know. I see animals always kind of on point, looking for food or looking for predators or looking for prey or looking for their food. Like they're constantly looking and they're constantly on. And if they're resting, they're just kind of relaxing. They're not really like taking in the environment so much. They might be playing, but they don't really do what we do, right? We have art museums, okay, where people go and they just look at creation from other people. But it's, again, what is the utility in that? Again, a lot of what I talk about in regard to like health and fitness is what does your body want? What are its goals? Surviving and replicating. And we understand that those principles that can help us get results when we go do our fitness thing, because we understand what our body is really searching for. And so when I look at beauty of a sunset or beauty of, these things I'm talking about, I go, what's the utility in it? And so I don't know that answer. And I was just curious, and while I was driving, and I was curious of that, and I thought about those examples. Is it something that brings us all together under God? Is it an innate thing that we have this relationship to something bigger than ourselves? It's naturally hardwired in us. And because we're such social beings, maybe that's something that's in us, so that we don't try to become God ourselves and we don't try to dominate other people. Because I read or I heard the example from Jordan Peterson talking about apes and how apes are social, they're mammals, and so you'd think like it's always just the alpha male and he's ruling, right? He's ruling over because he's bigger and stronger. But in apes, two medium size can completely destroy one big one. And so if that dynamic happens, the big one has to understand that they have to understand that dynamic. So who becomes the alpha? The one who understands how to keep everybody happy. And that's kind of our society, right? We don't just let tyrannical rulers rule over. If they do, they don't have a very long reign. Now, in the past, yeah, so maybe, like I said, maybe this is something in a short-term evolution. But I still think that maybe we were looking at and seeing beauty, or maybe not. Maybe we weren't seeing beauty 10,000 years ago, right? Maybe we were so focused on eating and surviving that we didn't see these things. Is it a new phenomenon? I don't know. I'm curious as to find out. But like I said, I understand the beauty in the opposite sex, because that's nature getting me to say, hey, you need to procreate, okay? Let's get these genes going, all right? Let's get them propagated. And the only avenue for that is a woman, right? And we need that, because guys, we can get distracted in making YouTube videos. And unless if a girl comes by wearing a short skirt and high heels, we might never even pay attention, all right? We need that visual stimulus, that attraction, that beauty to get us to go, oh yeah, I do want to procreate, right? All that stuff, like I said, it can get very distracting when you're around so many good-looking people, or even just average people, all right? Guys, all right, we're horny. That's as simple as that. But that's a genetic thing. I understand that propagates a species. But why do we see beauty in these other things, these inanimate objects, or mountain range, or a sunset, or anything, right? There's lots of things that we have. Those are just some examples that I know that are personal for me. But why? What is there? What is behind that? What's the utility of that? And I'm going to keep asking the question and see if I can find more answers, but that's just all I was thinking about when that came to mind the other day. That's all I got for today. And until next time, I'll see you then.